Hey guys, my name is Bryce, and today I'm doing a video on even more Star Wars stuff, but I'm going back to my roots of a review of the Chewbacca buildable figure from LEGO. Now, this is a box I recently got, even though it's been out for a little while now, but I just thought I'd finally, now that I got my hands on it, share it with you guys. Here's the back of the box, so it's showing an incredibly tall, but, obviously correct scale representation of Chewbacca. And he's got kind of like the slightly lighter fur tones on here, I think just due to age, so it's meant to represent Chewbacca in the setting of like the sort of newer, kind of Last Jedi sort of time and everything like that. Can already tell, if you want to make Groot, this is the set you make Groot with. Also, this head is, oh man, this head is ginormous. I want to grab another head really quick. Here we have Rey's head, and then here we have Chewbacca's head. Now, obviously it's totally alright in the universe's scale and all that stuff, but it's still pretty crazy that it's such a massive difference. Although it's kind of funny, it makes you also realize, the fact that you have the actors on the inside of the actual Chewbacca mask, because the eyes are pretty much the identical distance apart, which is kind of interesting. And then otherwise, all these pieces are the pretty much familiar parts, but come with the CCBS sets and everything. So I'm just going to put this together and give you the review. Okay, so I'm just finishing up now, so I just finished making the bow. And I'm not missing any pieces on the back, so I'm going to give this Wookiee as weapon. Now, even though this rattles around a little bit, it's also because of the trigger, which becomes prime when you press this in. I mean, you can hear that basically from like all the joints rattling around. Some might comment on it, but I don't really care. Kind of shows the instructions. And then we have Chewbacca with the head, which I might actually leave in the... No, I'm going to take it out of the bag. A massive mold. This is actually probably a very expensive mold, but they did a really nice job of getting like really nice sculpts in it and things like that, as you can see here. Now we're just going to pop it on like so. There. They did such a great job of actually making sure that the shoulders would be, present here and all that stuff, but then also hiding the neck so well, yet also be able to get like a little bit of articulation, mostly looking around. So we might have to look downward this way, just because his neck won't really permit it that much, but I think also considering the fact that you can do that, makes it not an issue. Even though his neck isn't super flexible, there's a lot of articulation in the rest of his body, which I quite like. Now it's interesting to have the shoulder strap here, which you can just slide up just a little bit, and then give the shoulder a little bit more room. Obviously the right one has a lot more room. Even though the satchel's here, which is what this kind of torso piece is for, which I wasn't quite sure of at the time, it's got a nice amount of room for the elbow to actually move just past in most cases, so that's nicely thought out. Now for the back, which is usually a bit of a controversial topic for most CCBS things, there is coverage. Now this, I don't think is like another tail part missing or anything like that. So here's the last time you basically see the back side of Chewie. Yeah, sure, it doesn't have one right here, but I think the fact that this is obviously the more exciting part anyway, you have enough where if you're holding it, your hand's going to be obscuring the rest of that area, so I wouldn't consider that a complaint, to be honest. You get quite a few pieces for, what the designers basically budgeted for this, so I appreciate that. Now to go mostly to the pros for a second though, the bow weapon, the bow caster I believe it's called, if I'm wrong I'll try and annotate for that, is even cooler in person, I have to say. Now to actually fire it, it's a super simple mechanism, but the fact that you can't really see where the trigger is otherwise beforehand, I think is a plus for the display factor of it. And also as soon as you take off the bolt here, fire this out, empty, it also looks really, really cool. I also want to say that the actual scheme of the fur is that the fact that you don't get a single kind of print, you actually get two different kinds. You know, the chest on the front is printed, the back is not. However, I appreciate the fact that there's bits of gray in here along with more of this sort of brighter kind, and so not only does that mean that, you know, it's nice to sort of show the aging of Chewbacca as we're kind of moved into the later part of the, you know, his story as told through Star Wars. I guess there could be a potential too, where if you get two of these and you just swap out the pieces that have gray aside from the regular chest piece, you can make kind of a younger looking Chewbacca, which is interesting as an aspect. Another thing I want to talk about, which is hard to do without pulling everything apart, is the torso build is excellent for this guy. Now, I mean, obviously anything that doesn't have a gear function in it is going to be, you know, a bit more complicated and everything, which is nice just to kind of compensate for that. But we can pop up the back, and it's such a nice symmetry in here. It reminds me of when I was making K2SO and how the hip joints all kind of came to a nice, you know, single fulcrum. This is kind of cool, just building like the rib cage of this, you know, massive alien, and so I think that was actually, you know, a satisfying part of the build, even though it didn't take very long. The instructions were simple, even though you had to flip things back and forth a few times. That was actually an enjoyable part of the build itself, was just like how you make the core of this character, and then the rest otherwise, I mean, you can even see in here, you know, the arms and legs are pretty straightforward, and it's nice just to have like the double cladding on both sides, even if there's some gaps. I know a lot of people commented on the knees, which could use, as I'll illustrate with this, just a knee pad, but I feel like, you know, kind of based on past experiences of seeing what it's taken to have certain sets be built, it probably just was just not in the budget for it or something like that, so I'm gonna kind of wave that away. You can always just get some sort of like black plate or something like that, or I'd even just recommend finding some other like Bionicle or Hero Factory part. I wouldn't even worry about it. But anyway, that's kind of the only rant I have for the, you know, cons mixed in with the pros. But otherwise, just to reflect on the pros, the you know, the actual printing on the pieces is nice and feels appropriate for the time period that the alien is in. Weapon is really cool. Obviously functions as well as all the other ones do, but it's nice to have this kind of platform of the blaster be, you know, turned into a bow instead of just a, you know, a laser or projectile weapon. The back, even though it's, you know, obviously less detailed, is there, and I think that's something that I appreciate is not always necessary for a lot of toys, especially ones that are of a franchise where, you know, the amount of licensing going into this character, especially one that's been in multiple movies, feels like it got a really nice, you know, representation in this sense. And yeah, in fact, it's pretty articulated. You know, you got friction adders and all that stuff to kind of help it, you know, strike a pose and everything. But you know, the fact that you can get some, I mean, I'm just kind of improvising here, some interesting moves out of this guy is also something I appreciate. Definitely get this while you can. You know, around Christmas time and all that stuff, a lot of people are going to get it because it's perfect timing retail-wise. But if you can, make sure you can grab this guy before it goes, because it's kind of like the General Grievous set. It's so appropriate for the, you know, the scale and articulation of CCBS, and when it's gone, you're going to miss it. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.